did Pokemon Heart Gold using only grass-type moves. Here's how it went.
I loaded up my game, and immediately we chose Chikorita. For a nicknaming theme, I was going to do nature, but chat seemed against it. They wanted me to just name them stupid things like Milky Gabe. So that's what we ended up naming the Chikorita. Nothing really important happens until the rival fight. The rival is actually pretty hard, having a Sneasel, a Ghastly, and a Typhlosion near the end of this run, so I can tell we're already gonna have some difficulties with him. He brought out his Cyndaquil and I brought out my Milky Gabe, and there really isn't much to say about this battle. We just Razor Leafed and just hope for the best. Eventually we ended up coming out top, and that's really all that mattered. On one of the later routes, we did get a few encounters. First off, we caught a Bellsprout named Toilet Seat, and while I couldn't find the footage, we also caught a Jumpluff named Grinch. Bellsprout Tower was long and boring. The only threat there was really a Hoot Hoot from the Master, but we landed a crit on him, so it really didn't matter. But now it was Falkner time. Our first attempt at Falkner was a little horrendous since Falkner is a flying master and we had a huge disadvantage against them. The first Pidgey was up and it used a ton of sand attacks and it took us forever, but eventually we took it out with Vine Whip. Next was the big bad Pidgeotto though, so I immediately started with sacking off Toilet Seat since it was at red and it wasn't really gonna do much. So then I brought out Grinch to see if we could stun spore it, which we did. And then after that, I decided to switch to Milky Gabe, but it got hit with a crit gust, which just one-shotted. That was not part of the plan, and now we only had Grinch, which only knew Synthesis and Stun Spore, so that run was basically over. Attempt 2 went a bit better. We took out the Pidgey with ease, and we were at a chillin' 30 HP when the Pidgeotto came out. I immediately switched into Grinch, hoping to Stun Spore like last time, but we missed a Stun Spore, so we went down. So we were basically going to go down the next turn, so we went down, and then I decided to bring out Toilet Seat, but it couldn't do much damage. I brought out Milky Gabe, and we couldn't do much damage to it as well, but we had Synthesis, which was able to heal some of our HP with time. The sad thing is, Pidgeotto also knew Roost, so eventually it ended up with us just getting knocked out. Eventually I came to my senses and realized I had to do some grinding, so I evolved Milky Gabe. And the next attempt went something like this. As usual, Toilet Seat took out the Pidgey with relative ease, and when the big bad Pidgeotto came out, I really did not know what to do. So after thinking about it for a while, I decided just to sack off Toilet Seat, and then switch in Grinch, who could land a Paralysis, and then switch into Milky Gabe, our evolved Pokemon, just to, chip down its health with Razor Leaf. But it knew Roost as well, so while we Synthesized, it also knew Roost, so after a long time of battling, we finally took it out and got the first badge. We were making our way downtown when we saw a Paris and decided to catch it. Chat liked the name Shrooms, so we just named it that. After that, we did some rocket shenanigans, and then we basically had time to fight Bugsy. Bugsy was one of those gym leaders which took a lot of attempts, so I'm going to explain the first one and then the last one. First, Bugsy started with her ace Scyther, and we brought out Toilet Seat. At the beginning, we just decided to try and put it to sleep, which ended up working out. But our Vine Whips did no damage whatsoever, and eventually it could just U-turn and kill all of our Pokemon. We did get a hold of most of its Metapod's health, but then it switched into Scyther again. So we just let Shrooms for the sack to bring in Grinch, who died, and then after that, Milky Gabe just had to take out the Kakuna while synthesizing a lot from poison damage. But when Scyther came out at last, there was nothing we really could have done, and it just took us out. The last attempt went something like this. Scyther came out and we were already at level 25 from all the grinding. And Grinch knew Bullet Seed at this point, but it still wasn't doing much damage. However, U-turn didn't one-shot us at this point, so we were able to stay in and synthesize on some of our Pokemon. However, it did U-turn and we brought out Toilet Seat to deal with the Kakuna that came out. But Scyther came in next, and we really couldn't do much, so eventually it just took us out and U-turned into Metapod. Milky Gabe could easily take care of that, but Scyther was the lastly in, and after devising a plan, I just decided to just synthesize when it used U-turn, but we got taken out. Grinch was our last hope, and after whittling it down with sleep powder and bullet seed, we were able to claim the W. But first, we had our first real rifle fight. Our rifle started with Ghastly, and we started with Toilet Seat like usual, and we were able to do a lot of damage, but it did put a curse on us. So when the lava came out, we just tried to sleep powder, but we missed, and then after that, I was considering switching out, but we went for sleep powder and brought in Grinch. But it woke up first turn, and that wasn't really helpful. We put it to sleep again, though, and we seeded it and synthesized up while it was asleep. And then after that, we could just bullet seed our way down. Basically not much to be said. It did eventually wake up, but it only went for smoke screen before putting it to sleep again. Then after that, we could just bullet seed and leech seed it. And that's basically all that happened to Quilava. But next was Zubat, and that could also do a lot of damage to us. Eventually, Milky Gabe was the one to take it down after just magical leafing our way through with Leech Seed and Paralysis. Eventually, we made our way to Goldenrod City, and it was time to fight Whitney and her big fat Miltank. So first was her Metronome Clefairy, and we brought out Milky Gabe. And we took it out easily. But next was the big Miltank, and while we did whittle it down, Whitney had super potions, and this just ended up being a time-consuming one. We weren't in any real danger. Whitney had a ton of super potions, and eventually Milky Gabe died somewhere in here, and then we just had to whittle our way down. It never actually went for rollout. It just used Stomp and Milk Drink a lot, which was annoying because it just healed to full health, and we had to take it down eventually with a Grinch using Bullet Seed and Leech Seed and all that stuff. But yeah, this was a very time-consuming one, but eventually we came out on top. I just had to speed it up. I was ranting on for so long. I just needed to speed up the end of this gym battle, and this is basically how it went. We caught an Oddish in the Ilex Forest and a Sunkern in National Park, and it was time for the rival fight again. We brought out Oddish to help out with the Ghastly, but it immediately got confused. We brought out John Cena next, and while it laid a curse, we put it to sleep with Brass Whistle and just had to Mega Drain our way down. It did eventually switch into Quilava, so then we had to switch because John Cena is just that weak. Quilava proved to be some issues, but we were way over leveled for this fight anyways from Bugsy still. So after Solar Beaming and Leech Seeding a ton, we were able to take it out very easily. But Zubat always caused troubles in these fights with Supersonic and its flying type attacks, so eventually we had to switch out to Toilet Seat, who had to take a crit pretty bad, and we couldn't stun spore it in time, and it just got taken out. That is just some terrible RNG there, but we had to bring out Grinch again, and after misclick for synthesizing, we wasted a few turns, but we got a Solar Beam in and it did some damage. Milky Gabe was able to finish that job off though, and its last Pokemon was the Fallen Asleep Ghastly, which we just took round away. Oh wait, it still had a Magnemite? Okay, I kind of forgot about this one, but we were able to take it down pretty easily regardless. Morty was asking for it though. His team was pretty good. After bringing in John Cena, which knew Grass Whistle, we were trying to Mega Drain it, but we didn't, so we just switched into Grinch because we were doing no damage. So we put it to sleep and Leech Seeded and Solar Beamed our way through. But next was the big bad Gengar, which we put to sleep and seeded, and we tried to Solar Beam, but it woke up. So then after Leech Seeding a bit, we got put to sleep. And I didn't want to stay in because I knew it had Nightmare, but we just stayed in and we got this and we sacked it off. We brought out John Cena next, which also got sacked off. That's just how weak a Sunkern is. We brought out Toilet Seat after that, and we put it to sleep eventually. Then we used Solar Beam, which took it out. Next was a crazy Haunter though, and it just put it to sleep really easily, and it knew Dream Eater, so it could heal itself up while it's still doing damage. So then after we were having problems with Milky Gabe, we just decided to sack off Milky Gabe and bring it in Blueberry. Most of our team was already dead at this point, so I really don't see a point in continuing the post-commentary. We just easily lost this fight. We tried again, and this attempt was a bit different. He started with the Ghastly, and we started with John Cena in order to take out the weak Pokemon. But we had to switch to Milky Gabe in the middle to whittle down Ghastly's HP and eventually take it out. Next was the Gengar though, and it immediately put us to sleep. So I decided to switch in John Cena Sacket to bring in Toilet Seats, but it also died. So then I had to bring in Grinch, who could put it to sleep and Leech Seed it and Solar Beam it as well. But eventually it did wake up. So then we had to keep on Solar Beaming it until it died. Haunter was next, and I quickly put it to sleep and tried to Solar Beam it over and over again, but it put it to sleep and it knows Nightmare, which can heal itself. So I had to switch immediately to Blueberry, but then to Shrooms because Blueberry got put to sleep. Luckily, I got it to sleep with Paris, and after that, Grinch was eventually able to take it down once it woke up. But the last Hunter was out, and this one was probably the easiest one. We put it to sleep a couple times and healed ourselves with the Leech Seed a bit, and then we just tried to Solar Beam our way through until eventually we got through. And that's basically how this Morty battle went. Shortly after, we evolved Shrooms the Paris into a Parasect, and with that, it was just time to fight Jasmine. Jasmine used steel types, which we did resist. They resisted, So after thinking of my strategy, I just decided to Spore, but we got confused, so we just switched out to Toilet Seat to deal with the Magnemite. Luckily, Magnemite was asleep for the first time, and we Vine Whipped again, but it woke up and it immediately paralyzed us. We put it to sleep again, and then we went for the Vine Whips. We went Vine Whip again, but it went for Hyper Potion, so I knew it was going to wake up. So then it put us to Confusion, so I had to switch. I was trying to see which one had Sleep Powder, and eventually I realized Grinch did, so I brought out Grinch and put Magnemite to sleep. I quickly regained my health and just went for Mega Drain, which still wasn't doing much. It woke up and paralyzed us and Thunderbolted us twice, but we were left on 2 HP, which was crazy, so we just had to sack Grinch and bring in Milky Gabe to deal with it. We went for Magical Leaf, which actually did damage, so that was great to see an actual move doing damage. And then after that, I decided I was just checking to see which one used sleep moves, especially since Milky Gabe was confused. So I decided to bring in Blueberry to finish it off. And then when the Steelix came in, I went to Sleep Powder, but missed, and Steelix killed us. Luckily, I brought in Shrooms to put it to sleep, and then switched into John Cena, which died. So then I had to bring in Milky Gabe, and Steelix was awake by now. So now with Shrooms, and then eventually Steelix was just stripping away at this team, taking away its shots one by one, and there really wasn't much to do. Eventually it was just up to Milky Gabe, but it also died. I eventually started training and Milky Gabe evolved, and with that it was time for the next attempt against Jasmine. We immediately put Magnemite to sleep with a Blueberry and went for Mega Drain. Eventually it did wake up and confused us, so we had to switch. Also paralyzed us, which is kind of a crazy thing and a very annoying thing that happens with Magnemite. But eventually we just switched out into Milky Gabe, but unfortunately Jasmine Hyper Potion, so it did take a while, but eventually we knocked it out. Next she brought in her second Magnemite, which we took out easily with Milky Gabe. And finally when Steelix came in, we just had to go for Magical Leaf over and over again, but eventually we had to switch into Toilet Seat. Now at this point Steelix was at half health, so I just decided to go with Solar Beam, which actually did damage. But unfortunately, we left Steelix in the red, which meant Jasmine Hyper Potions. Eventually, it took out Toilet Seat and John Cena, and we really didn't know what to do at this point. I decided just to bring in Shrooms, but it also died, so I didn't really know if this attempt was going to last. I brought in Milky Gabe to Petal Dance eventually after 3 Petal Dances, we beat Jasmine. I just realized that the Chuck fight apparently didn't show, so I guess we just didn't do it. I remember doing it, but I think that our file got deleted because I was having some file problems in the middle of this series, so I think it just got deleted. So sorry, we did win after our first attempt, obviously. I mean, Chuck has a polyroll, so sorry that you guys weren't able to see that. After helping the Lions with some random stuff, we had to fight Price. Price is an ice type, but he does use a lot of water types. To prove my point, we killed Seal with one shot, but Dugong was a little bit of troubles. It killed Toilet Seed and Milky Gabe. We did have some problems with it, and eventually Milky Gabe fell to it, and then Blueberry had to take it down all by itself. Lastly was the big Pillow Swine, and eventually I didn't really know what to do. I was just taking out my entire team, and yeah, that's what happened. I did have my Surfer out, so I had to throw Pokeballs in the middle because I didn't know any grass-type moves. The next attempt went a bit better though. We one-shotted the Dugong this time, and the Pillow Swan was also one-shot. After that, I just decided to become a criminal because why not? Eventually, joining a covert evil organization got very boring, so I decided, why not fight my rival? I was getting bored anyways. The problem is our rival now had a not fully evolved, but a Golbat, which did cause some problems. It took us a while, but eventually we lost shrooms and toilet seat to this. We brought Blueberry out to try and sleep powder it, but of course RNG sucks, and we died. Ta-da! What would you expect? Then we had Milky Gabe, who was vastly overleveled at this point, take out the Golbat. But she still had a Quilava to deal with. And eventually, while we were able to take it out, our rival also had a Sneasel, which quickly whittled down Milky Gabe's HP and took it out. There really wasn't much I could do. I was just trying to take it down easily, but eventually we did take it out. But lastly was a Magnemite, and it did tons of damage with Sonic Boom. And then once we took it out, it was the Haunter, which had Shadow Ball, took out John Cena and Grinch at the end. When we were healing up our Pokemon, something really strange happened. Professor Elm called us about this random thing called Pokerus. I was wondering why he did that, so when I checked, turns out we have Pokerus. Yay! This is actually really good because it's going to make EV training much better and much easier since Pokerus doubles your EVs. So this was actually much good that our entire team had Pokerus. We were able to defeat our rival easily, by the way. After that, I just decided to take down a good friend of mine when I was on Team Rocket because I ruled this game cartridge and no one can tell me otherwise. And after that, I went out through arguably the best cave in Pokemon. Oh, I actually found some of the footage of us beating Chuck. Honestly, some of these Johto leaders only having 2 Pokemon at the end is kind of embarrassing for the region. Claire, the last gym leader, was a huge problem though. Just take a look at this attempt. First off, the Gyarados intimidate Gyarados is crazy. Then by the time the Dragonairs come out, all they do is paralyze. It's so annoying. Paralyze, paralyze, paralyze. Hyper Beam, Dragon Rage, just kill us no matter what. And then paralyze, paralyze, kill, paralyze, heal up, paralyze, 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 paralyze. Alright, we got it down. Kingdra now. Kingdra's actually should be pretty easy. Nope. Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse, Dragon Pulse, Dragon Pulse. I realize I sound like a baboon singing this, but yeah. Claire was very hard, and we could hardly get past any of her attempts. However, we had this one attempt when we got through the Kingdra, and then eventually the Gyarados, and then there was only one Dragonair left. Luckily, Grinch has Synthesis, so it was able to do it pretty well job of healing itself up until we ran out of PP. Lastly was Milky Gabe, who also had Synthesis, but it didn't need it. Magical Leaf just took it down. We have all 8 gym badges, and there really wasn't much left to do other than go and challenge the league. Of course, we had to do this random thing before challenging the league. Before challenging the league, we had to go through Victory Road, and this meant going through a rival fight. We had to go through, the Sneasel was easy, but the Golbat proved to be difficult, and it could just take out my entire team. I don't know if in this attempt if we get past it, but as soon as we get past the Golbat anyways, the Typhlosion comes out, and it can one-shot us easily. Vigor was definitely a rival, was definitely very hard in this challenge, especially proving at the end, so cheers to you, Vigor, for actually being a good rival. Okay, we did end up getting to the Typhlosion in this attempt, but honestly, our team was so weak already that we couldn't do anything. Of course, we had our HM slaves in there, so we just chucked Pokeballs. Yeah, but we really couldn't do anything against Vigor. Here's just an example of what this attempt to look like. First, we had the Sneasel, which should probably go down pretty easily, and then we had the Golbat. So right now, our team's in pretty good health, but we had to have some fight with Grinch, Milky Gabe, Grinch again, and we didn't do anything to Golbat before Grinch died. And then Milky Gabe would have to come, and we'd have to use Razor Leaf over and over again, and we had to synthesize over and over again. But until eventually we could take it down the Golbat. Now Typhlosion was out, and our team was looking pretty well still, but it one-shots everything with Lava Plume. Whoever thought that our rival should have Lava Plume? I can tell this is going to be a tough one. On this one attempt, we were so close. Oh my god. On this one attempt, everything looked hopeless. We just had our sleeves out, but it switched to the magneton, so we actually got pretty close there. Finally, we had this one attempt when we got through the Haunter and the Typhlosion and the Golbat. We got through Magneton, but we were so low on PP, we were having troubles with Haunter. Of course, we still had Synthesis, but while Kadabra was out, we only had Grinch on almost no PP. We had 4 Sleep Powder PP, and if we could just struggle our way through this, we might be able to win. Eventually, we had struggle, but we both got knocked out. Oh my god, that was such a bad one. Eventually, though, through sheer force, we got through the Kadabra, and all that was left was the Magneton, and like a couple Solar Beams did it. And through sheer force, we were actually able to defeat our rival Figure. That was actually a really hard rival fight, and I don't think through any of these challenges, we've had such a challenging rival. It was time for the league. Of course, the first Elite Four member is a Psychic type, which, like some of our Poison types, are weak to, and had 2 Zatus, Flying types. Yes, this challenge is just so great. Yeah, we didn't do well in this first attempt. I'm just gonna save you the kerfuffle of watching this. This was an absolute massacre. When we finally beat Will, we had already trained our entire team to level 60, and it went something like this. Will brought out his Zatu first, but immediately changed into Jinx, which Grinch had to slowly roll down his HP until Will healed it. Eventually we got through to it, and the Zatu came out and forced me to switch. It killed Toilet Seat but Milky Gave got a hold of both of the Zatus at the end. Next was an Executor, and I just used Blueberry and Petal Dance over and over again until it died. And lastly was a Slowbro, which is probably the easiest because you could just Giga Drain it and it was super effective. But of course, the second type Elite Four, it has to be the Poison one, so this was obviously going to be a hard one as well. So Ariados starts and immediately kills Toilet Seat. Koa heals up, then switches to Venomoth, which kills Blueberry, and almost kills Shrooms, but then we're just gonna leave that up to Crobat, because why not? So then after that, we just had to be switching on the Crobat until John Cena died. Then Milky Gabe is gonna start dying, and then we have to switch out to Grinch, who was eventually able to take it out. But then the Muck came in, and there really wasn't much to do. My Synthesis could only do so much. This part I'm going to talk about, the footage was directly cut. I don't know why, but it just seems to have been cut. But so, Koga was always gonna be a hard part of this challenge. But we had just too many weak assets on our team. John Cena couldn't survive a hit from anything, not even types that's super effective. It couldn't last a hit from anything, because it's just that weak. I tried to find if there were any leaf stones around, but you can only get those in Kanto. So we had a problem because I also wanted to get a few new encounters that I apparently missed. First was an Executor, which you could apparently get, and I didn't realize that you could. So I was a bit surprised by that. You can get it right below Victory, the Pokemon League, so I guess I just didn't check there. So, that's what happened. Anyways, the only other option for encounters was a Leafeon, but we start with an Eevee from Bill, and as I said, there are no leaf zones, so we couldn't do that as well. But I did know that we could get the Execute. Of course, we couldn't evolve it, but it would still be good. Better than a Sunkern anyways. So we went to the Ilex Forest, and we got Milky Gabe to learn Headbutt, and headbutted some trees until we found an Execute, caught it, and we decided, and then after that I was kind of like done for the day, and I was gonna start again tomorrow. However, as you can probably tell by the time of this video, that did not happen. This is because when I woke up the next morning, I saw this error on my emulator saying that we could not open. It shows the file path, and then it says Pokemon Heart Gold U Xenophobia.nds removed from list. I don't know if this means xenophobia is a phobia of interaction, I think. But I tried over and over again. Every time I try to open my emulator, it just says this. And I don't know why it does that. I'm gonna try and figure it out, but I've been trying for a couple days now. I don't think there's an answer other than to just restart the whole challenge, but I don't want to do that, to be honest. We were already at the Pokemon League, but if you guys want, I will do a second attempt on this challenge if this video blows up. Get me to that 20 likes, okay? So yeah, this is Lucky Lucario, and I'll see you guys in the next one.